Howdy, y'all. It's day 4 on the Colorado Trail, but I'm gonna do a summary of yesterday, day 3, because I was too tired when I got all settled. Yesterday was kind of a short day, 16 miles, although it felt long. I think I was feeling the effects of the previous 2 days. So I started just outside the Lost Creek Wilderness. There's a trailhead there, which I've forgotten the name of. But it was very close to where I camped, which is why I heard a truck start up and roar off in the middle of the night. So you're never far from civilization, I guess, because I had cell service too. Anyway, so Lost Creek Wilderness was very pretty. A lot of backpackers, I was there on a Sunday, so a lot of people, I think, finishing up the weekend trips. A lot, I saw maybe 5 or 6. But there's quite a climb in Lost Creek, which I wasn't expecting, and very rocky. It was like an old road, Jeep road or something, and that was very tough and grueling. And then there was a new part of the Colorado Trail which they cut off from that road. Not sure why, but that was very steep, lots of rocks, and also grueling. So it was worse than the road, and pretty killer. And that wore me out. So I got to where you exit the Lost Creek Wilderness, and there's a nice, really pretty meadow with a river, stream, whatever, running through it. And people talk about moose sightings. So I was all primed to see a moose. Unfortunately, no moose. I was even camping. Talking later, where there's supposed to be moose walking through camp, and I did not see any, so disappointed. I did see and got a picture of, I think, a mule deer. I have to look at it a little closer. Definitely not a moose. I thought for a couple hours I'd seen a moose, and then I realized, it wasn't the right color. It didn't have the moosey face. It was definitely not a moose, but it was kind of a funny story. So I'm going through this tree part, and the trail goes through, and I poke around this corner, and I look down, and there's the deer crossing the trail, and she turns and looks at me, and I turn and look at her, and we're both kind of staring at each other, and she flops her big old ears, and then she goes down the trail. We just kind of stared at each other for a minute, but that was kind of cool. And then the baby followed, or maybe not baby, but young one, and it also looked at me, and I had to manage to get my phone out, and I took some pictures, which I'll share at some point. And then it bounded off. It was so cute, because it was like all fours, boing, 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 bouncing. So it was really cute. Anyway, so that was cool. But this meadow was really beautiful, and I got to this point where there's a bridge. It's another trailhead. And at this point, I have to switch hands. Ooh, it's tough with the sun, though. Let's try that. Ooh. I don't know. Let's go back the other hand. There's a bridge, little wooden bridge, and there's a family with kids playing in the water, and they've been camping. And I talked with them, and they were really nice. And they offered me water and granola bars and stuff like that. Should have taken them up on the water. I did take them up, or asked them if they could pack out my trash, which that was great, and they were very helpful there. But it was cool. They were really nice, from Denver. In contrast to this other family I saw on the trail, it was a couple, 2 kids, and a dog. And I said hi, and I heard there's moose, and they were just like, okay, and walked on. I'm like, okay, not friendly, but maybe whatever. But they were going in, so I guess maybe they were serious, getting ready for some serious hiking. I don't know. What else? So I got some water at that place, and it had tannins in it, which, people commented on the Far Out app about, it's got tannins, and they said, well, it filtered okay, so I did it. It did have a taste, and hopefully it's like the same thing in tannins and wine. You don't have to worry about it being a problem, but I drank 1 bottle of it with some electrolytes, and it still left a nasty kind of taste. So I dumped my other bottle when I got to another water source and got fresh. But so I need to look that up at some point and see whether you've got to worry about that or not. but the family left, and I did have a cute conversation actually with the little boy. He was probably about 5, and I was sitting on the bridge having my lunch, and he was snacking on something, and so we were chatting about bears and how one of them had a gun, I guess, or one of the parents had a gun for the bears, and so I wasn't too happy about that, but you know, you gotta protect yourself, but hopefully they would just fire it in the air and scare it off. That's, I think, usually all you need to do. But he was just really cute, and he really liked camping. All the kids did. They said they started it out young. I think 4, because I think the kid I was talking to was like 5. Let's see. So, oh yeah, so it was storms were supposed to roll in, and I wanted to kind of get to a place where I could hunker down, because this was all exposed. And I thought it was 4 miles to get out of the meadow area, because the trail kind of goes along the river there. But it turned out it was 8. So I'm booking it along, trying to beat the storms to get there by, go 4 miles before 3. I was going to be a little late, but and try to avoid the storms or be ready to hunker down. And I get to the 4 miles, and it's like there's still way more trail along the meadow. It turns out there's like 8 miles of this exposed. We're in this meadow, trees on either side. So you could duck into them if a storm came up. It wouldn't be ideal. It was kind of steep in places, but you did have a bailout. But anyway, it was very disheartening when I really hustled to get to that point, and I was kind of wiped. And so I found a place. It was a decent place to stop, about 13 miles in. And I got there, and I kind of rested and refueled. And then I was looking, and it's like, oh, well, there's another place 3 more miles away. And as I found out, pleasantly, it was downhill. I decided to go ahead and do it before I knew the downhill part. And that's one thing I need to realize is I need to look more at the elevations and the elevation profiles of what's next, just to know better about how long it's going to take, how much water I need, that sort of thing. I haven't been very good about that, so that was a lesson learned. So I went to that campsite at 16 miles. Whew. Kind of amazing how heavy your phone gets holding it. And that was really nice. It was a really good stream, lots of water, supposedly moose all over, like I mentioned. Found a decent campsite. It wouldn't have been great if it would have rained. Now, the forecast I had said it would rain around midnight, or pretty likely. And so after I set up my tent, I kind of realized, oh, this is not great from a drainage perspective. I'm going to end up maybe sleeping in a bit of a puddle. And so I tried to do a little civil engineering, I don't know, whatever it is, to maybe direct the water away. Put some rocks, dug some little channels. Maybe it would have worked, but it didn't rain. So wasted effort, and need to worry about site selection. But it's super hard. There were a ton of tent sites there. You can clearly tell where people camped. And then there would be like 3 dead trees all around it. And I mean, as you're walking through, like, look at all these fallen trees. I mean, these trees fall all the time, right? So, I don't know. I think people need to be a little more careful. But there's a lot of trees that are dead. I hear later there's, the pine bark beetle, the pine beetle or whatever, has done a lot of damage. So we'll see. But that's been the hard part about campsite selection, is all the dead trees. And then you want something flat. So there's never a perfect spot. So you got to just compromise and go with it. Otherwise, you'll never find a spot, which I kind of found out on the first day. Let's see. So other than that, it was pretty uneventful. Other than, I had too much for my dinner that I prepared and cooked it. I didn't cook it right. I didn't heat the water enough. So it wasn't all that tasty. And I just didn't have much appetite. So I forced about 3/4 of it down. And now I have to pack it out, which is kind of a bummer because anytime you don't eat that meal, you've hydrated, added water, and it's now heavier maybe than what it was before because it was all dry. And so now you're packing it out because you got to pack out everything, which was why it was so helpful when that family could give me or could take the trash out, because I had one other failed meal experiment that I maybe ate half of, forced it down. So we'll see. Anyway, I'll talk more. Well, I'll probably gotta go, and we'll see you next time. Bye.